I'm Malia White, real-life bosun and cast member on Bravo's Below Deck Med. Working in my industry can be very interesting. These are my stories. As you'll find out, my world is a total ship show.
Welcome back to Total Ship Show. I'm Malia.
I'm Amanda.
And today we have some very cool guests from the Sea Shepherd. We've got Chris and Simon.
Hi guys.
Hey guys, how's it going? Hey guys, how are ya? Hi from Mexico.
Ooh, where in Mexico are you guys?
We're in Ensenada right now.
Oh, I love that area. It's so nice.
Do you want to tell us what you're doing in Mexico?
So Simon and I are here on the sailing vessel Martin Sheen. We are preparing to leave on Friday to go out to Guadalupe Island. We're bringing some government Mexican scientists and then some NOAA scientists out, and their primary study out there is the Cuvier's beaked whale.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
This sounds epic. And this is a conservation to save these whales, right?
This particular one is to collect research. One of the primary things that they want to be doing is we're going to bring a bunch of acoustical instruments out, and we'll sort of tow them around, we'll deploy them, and then they really want to record the sound of these sort of strange whales, because these whales go down for like 2 or 3 hours at a time, and then they come up for 10 minutes, and then they go down. So there's not much known about them, but you can kind of track them, and they can ID them through the sounds.
Oh, wow, that's amazing.
Are these whales all over the world, or are they only in that part of like the Pacific Ocean off the coast of Mexico?
The Cuvier's beaked whales are found pretty much around this area, but there's, I want to say, like 27 different species of beaked whales that are found around the world. This one just happens to be, this is the group, and this is their niche for these guys, for the Cuvier's ones.
Okay. And guys, so your positions on the boat, I know, Chris, you've been everything from like a deckhand to a bosun to a mate to a captain. What will you be out there?
I'll be the captain, and then Simon is the photographer.
Yeah, Simon, I follow you on Instagram, and your photos are absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, your photos are so awesome. That's so cool. So when you're photographing, are you going down and diving to photograph the whales?
Well, we were out here, I think maybe a year ago, 2 years ago, doing the similar campaign, and the beaked whales at about 6 o'clock in the morning showed up right next to the ship. So nobody was really prepared for that. So it was basically jump over the side in a pair of shorts and a t-shirt with a GoPro, and just get thrown a mask, and you just hope you can grab something, which I did at the time. And sometimes it's just like that. You just don't know what you're going to get. On some campaigns, it's primarily diving, and you're going for something specific. And this one will probably be a snorkeling, but maybe not, because we are going to Guadalupe, and it's full of great white sharks. So I don't know if I'll be in the water for this one. You know?
There's a lot of sharks in Guadalupe, so
I was going to say,
the water is really by accident normally.
Well, actually, that's the whole reason I want to go to Guadalupe. They have an amazing great white dive, don't they?
Right, that's right.
I'd love to do that.
Right. Yeah, they swim around the boat. It's wild.
Oh, well, yeah, I guess that's not nice.
That would scare me.
So, Simon, as a fellow diver, I'm super passionate about scuba diving and all the marine species, obviously, but what's probably the coolest thing you've been in the water with?
Ooh,
I know it's a tough question.
For locations, I mean, geez. Actually, the coolest thing I've been in the water, I mean, I love my sharks.
Yeah.
So I've been in the water with all of them, the ones that are supposed to be man-eaters. I mean, I've been right next to tiger sharks, bull sharks, which are more aggressive than great whites, Caribbean reefs. And so, I mean, I love that stuff. I mean, I love whales, but there's something really unique about the different species of sharks out there and just how they behave, you know. And it's really nice to be next to them, right next to them, and prove it wrong that they're man-eaters, you know, because they're not, you know. So it's nice to still be around, to have all my fingers and toes and make that point.
Yeah, I agree. I'm super passionate about sharks as well, and I actually just got to just dive with great hammerheads.
Oh, nice! And my favorite shark.
Yeah, I think they might be mine now too. I've dove with tigers a lot in Hawaii, obviously, but I've never seen a hammerhead like that, and I'm blown away by them.
Where did you go for that one?
That was Bimini.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that's where I did the tiger sharks down there.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
That's a good spot for both of those. So.
Okay, guys, so we have to ask you. We know, so I obviously worked on a reality TV show, Below Deck, about yachting, but your world, Sea Shepherd, has become famous because of whale wars, right? All this conservation. So can you give us an insider's take on it all?
Simon can, because he was there.
Yeah, so Simon, you were on like the longest boat chase, right?
They want a confession. They want a confession.
Is that what you're asking? Is Below Deck's confessions?
Yeah, confessions of whale wars. But you were involved in like the longest boat chase, right?
I was.
The Thunder?
Yeah, 110 days over 10,000 miles. So
Wow.
without seeing land. So that was a good mental test for everybody, I think.
And what we see on like the things that come out on the TV, is that the full story? Is there crazy shit that happens behind the scenes that I mean,
I think it's like your show, maybe. I mean, things get edited.
Yeah.
No comment.
Most of it's probably sitting on the boat, like, okay, we're just going in this direction, and then they edit it just and get all of the action shots thrown into an hour.
Well, I mean, with things like whale wars and stuff, I mean, obviously it's 3 months you're out there, and you're not in the action every day. So you've only got limited time in your TV episodes. So it's a very compressed time frame, which is probably the same experience for you. They cherry pick all the good stuff and make smaller stories out of it, because there's a whole lot of nothing going on when you're out there for 3 months. You have 10 days of full-on action out of that whole time.
Right, and then at the same time that you guys are filming, there's other vessels. Like, Chris, were you on a different vessel during this time, or?
I've been on pretty much almost all of them at this stage. Simon and I met on a boat called the Bridge of Bordeaux, that was one that was part of the whale wars. That was 5 years ago. And then we did a lot of, looking for illegal longliners, and there was some interesting stuff to come out of that. Simon jumping in and looking at filming sharks that were on hooks, and there was some pretty interesting stuff going on when we were doing that a few years ago.
Yeah. So what happens when you encounter these guys?
Anything can happen when you encounter these guys. You need to be really sort of on point with some of them, because they know what they're doing 9 times out of 10 is not right. And then you start putting drones up and you get 100 meters away, they're not that happy about it. So sometimes they'll sort of try to intimidate you by driving quickly at you, or a lot of projectiles. Throw things. They can do anything. Normally you could spend 2 or 3 days trying to find one, and then you probably have 10 minutes to film it before they cut the line, drive away, or something like that. So, and it's pretty interesting, because you need to try to sneak up on them. And as you would know, that's not easy in the big blue desert to hide.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, there are ways.
And one question too, like you guys right now are looking at these whales that are down off the coast of Mexico, and then you're also doing these different expeditions where you're like looking for people who are doing illegal fishing. Is it like when you go on an expedition, are you like, okay, we're going to be gone for like 3 weeks and we're going to try to get these guys during these 3 weeks? Or is it just sort of like all over the place, unexpected kind of schedule when you're doing that?
It can be either or. For example, I think with the Thunder, you knew what you were looking for. And then Antarctica, you knew what they were looking for.
That was pre-planned, probably a year before that time, for going down there to find those guys.
Mm-hmm. There are some other campaigns where it's you're outside, basically kind of just looking. You may have an idea. There may be some sort of understanding of where they could be. There's a lot of collaboration with governments now, which is a pretty vast change from the days of whale wars. There's almost nothing that we don't do that we don't have permission from the governments to sort of do. So it's the vigilante stuff is really it's become a lot more formalized, I should say, and with the collaborations.
Is that a good thing? Do you think it's good that like governments are stepping in? Are they helping, or are they making it more difficult for you guys to kind of do what you want to do?
It's great. It's great.
Great.
Because then, it sort of opens up their eyes. A lot of the countries that we work in, they don't necessarily have, the boats, the vessels to go out and do it. So, we can offer to help. And then also they may not understand the entire scope of what's going on. And so we can kind of educate them. And the best way to educate them is to either bring them out with us or show them the footage. And then they sort of say, oh, we don't really want to be known for this. And then they sort of, it changes. One of the success stories now is the vaquita porpoise.
Yeah.
They've been going there since, I would say 8 years, 2015. I think it's down to 10 left. It had originally started with Sea Shepherd pulling nets, and sort of it got a bit violent. And it's actually changed now where the Sea Shepherd boats are still there, but they don't have to go into the marine reserve and pull nets, because the government is actually, the Coast Guard has sort of taken an initiative there. And then actually just a week ago, there's a woman named Barbara Taylor, who's actually coming with us tomorrow. She's the sort of the lead vaquita scientist of the world. Had published some articles that have been accepted that they're not necessarily going to be extinct. They're showing signs that they're capable of recovering. Through their genes, they can actually inbreed without mutations and this sort of thing. So to see that article come out last week, and I was just showing Simon, like National Geographic has published it and talking about it. So it's a great success story that, when people understand it a little bit, and now the Mexican Coast Guard can take some pride and be like, yeah, we helped protect this species.
Yeah, that's amazing, because you guys are, I guess, like you're saying, it's educating local governments so that they can kind of step in and create their own system for what's going to work in their areas.
Right.
Well, I think it's a win-win, because I started doing this back in 2010, and that was before we had any agreements with governments. And we are direct action, and I think that was the appeal for me, was that we get in the middle of it and mix it up with whoever we're going up against. And it's great fun kind of spending, hours like throwing smoke grenades or whatever. It's like being 16 and, goofing off, if you want to call it that. I mean, it's a bit of venting your anger, I guess, at what the bad people are doing. But at the end of the day, you can't bring them to any kind of conviction without having government contracts. So this, where we are now, it allows us to actually see these boats being brought in, and the companies being fined for their illegal activities. Whereas before we were pretty much out there, we were getting it in the media as things are going on and whatnot, but you can't convict these guys.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, as we see with yachting as well, I mean, there's so many people protecting a lot of these, yacht owners or commercial fishing, and it's hard to get to the actual source sometimes.
Yeah. Do you guys find that based on the geographical location of where you are, like you guys get more support maybe from the, the U.S. government or the Mexican government, hypothetically, over some other areas? So you tend to spend more time in those areas because of the government support?
If we have an agreement with someone, we'll certainly spend time there. It takes a lot of time and effort and patience to develop these. There's a whole team that sort of works on developing these relationships. And it's usually because there's a problem that we've highlighted, and then we explain it and then ask if we can come and help and work with them in order to sort of achieve that.
But I think there are countries where, like Japan, we're not exactly welcome.
Right.
Or
I was going to say.
Yeah, right.
The Faroe Islands above Scotland, as well as another place where we're really not welcome back anytime soon.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you make enemies
Yeah.
doing this. So.
Yeah, I can imagine. Speaking of enemies, we always love to ask people their craziest sea stories, and I'm sure you two are going to have some that are up there.
Crazy stories, like what kind of crazy stories?
Just the wildest thing you might have encountered at sea.
I mean, I guess if I had 9 lives like a cat, I mean, I've used a heap of them just doing the Antarctic campaigns. I mean, it's dangerous being down there and going up against harpoon boats when you're in the Zodiac and near misses.
Yeah.
In that respect, and then jumping on the sinking vessel, the Thunder, going down into the engine area in the pitch black, and just seeing the water bubbling up, that kind of thing. And you just don't know if the boat's going to go upend on you and you're going down 3 miles to a watery grave, So there's that kind of
Because the Thunder was, so essentially the Thunder was illegal fishing. You guys caught up to it after this extremely long chase, and then it started sinking. Well,
Yeah.
probably
Well, I mean,
purposefully sinking, right?
Yeah, I mean, we were, for the whole duration of following these guys, wondering how this was going to play out. And obviously, we wanted them just to run out of fuel and have to go into a port somewhere so they could be arrested. And I just remember getting off watch at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. And then an hour later, there was a knock on my cabin door. And this guy tells me that everyone's jumping off the boat into life rafts. They've put out a mayday that it's sinking. And it's just disbelief at the time. You know, you go up to the bridge and you see all these guys literally throwing life rafts in and getting off a ship. And then a few hours later, it goes down, you know. So it was quite bizarre and a little sad that it ended that way. But it was kind of a relief that it also ended after 110 days at sea, you know.
Yeah.
And Simon, you were jumping onto the Thunder to try and gather evidence so that these guys could be like somewhat convicted, or correct?
Yeah, I mean, I was out there in the Zodiac just photographing all these guys in the life rafts, and then Captain Peter Hamstead wanted our chief engineer and chief mate to go on board the Thunder once all the crew had departed to see if we could save the vessel from sinking, and obviously I wanted in on that. And yeah, so 3 of us boarded this vessel that started to list over, and you know, you're just running around trying to collect the charts, mobile phones, and anything else related to illegal activity, which they stupidly didn't throw over the side, and it was all there for the taking on the bridge.
Oh my gosh.
And we're running around in the dark trying to find the freezers for the actual fish. Without that, we have nothing.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, we found it. We were in the pitch black with a head torch,
Oh
you know,
my gosh.
you know, and then our crew's telling us to get off the boat because it's listing over. And
Yeah.
so it's crazy. I mean, you do some of these things and then you look back on it in hindsight, and you wonder if you would do it again. And I probably would, because I got that kind of mentality, you know. I like being in the middle of the action. I mean, I joined
Yeah.
because we do direct action and we get in the thick of it, and that's part of the draw for me. I'm a bit of an adrenaline junkie as well with that, I guess. I
would
like.
Yeah, just a bit.
And you
think.
talk about it so nonchalant. We're like,
Yeah, like, oh,
I'm
the ship
alive
was
to talk
sinking.
about it, I guess. So
So
it's
the
easy
crew
to
were
talk
like,
about.
get off.
yeah, geez.
But
wow.
I guess in that case, it paid off because they eventually went to jail, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was off South May, and they got arrested, and then I had to go back to the court with Captain Hammerstead and Captain Sid Chakravarti and give evidence of what we'd found. So it was kind of a bit surreal to sit right next to these guys in a courtroom. You know, there's nothing separating us, and
Wow.
I just remember the second engineer just looking at us like he'd slit our throats if he got us in a back alley somewhere, you know. He just had that look of just complete hate for us. And I remember the captain running across the room and trying to punch me in the face
Oh my
because I was taking photos, and he was this little guy who was about 4.5 feet tall, and took a swing at me, and I just put my hand on his chest and held him back, you know. And
Oh my gosh.
so it was
In the
quite
courtroom.
Yeah, and then they ended up bringing in some armed police to stand in the corner
Yeah.
just to keep everything normal, you know.
Wow.
That is wild.
That is so
Definitely beats all my
wild.
yachting stories. And Captain Chris, do you have a crazy story for us?
That's hard to follow.
I mean, it's hard for anyone to follow that.
Yeah. I've had some few interesting encounters with shark fishermen. I think you were on the boat actually, Simon. I think we were about 1,200 miles offshore, and we had finally caught up to one. And I think we probably spent like an hour or 2 hours of figure of eights while they were trying to hit us.
Oh my gosh.
And eventually we sort of got away and then sort of followed them around for a while. But the boat we were on, it didn't turn very well because of what it was a trimaran. So luckily the captain of the fishing boat didn't know it didn't turn very well. So I could sort of stay ahead of them.
Yeah.
Well, we just sort of like went in figure of eights for an hour.
Oh my god.
Jeez.
Yeah,
Jeez.
it was interesting. Yeah, he was singing on the VHF radio to us and trying to hit us. It was bizarre. It was a bit surreal.
Oh my gosh. Well, I tripped off the sidewalk taking my trash out last week. So
Oh my gosh.
my life is crazy too.
This is life on sea versus land. When those shark fishermen, is this primarily for shark finning?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
And so some of the stuff we were doing was going out into, you probably heard of the big squid fleet in the Pacific. They had sort of encircled the Galapagos Islands a couple years ago. Simon and I have been out there a few times in that squid fleet, and it's quite harrowing when you're in there. It's like, you can kind of imagine if you're offshore and you're out there for a while, Malia, you probably understand, like when you're getting back to shore and you see the loom of light, you're like, you get that feeling of you're coming into land again.
Yeah.
And you're like mentally preparing. It has that feeling at nighttime, but you're like 1,000 miles offshore. It's just the most bizarre situation.
You know what? I think I've seen these boats, actually. They have giant lights.
They do.
The conveyors.
And there's it seems like hundreds of them.
It's hundreds. Yeah. It's hundreds.
Because we were navigating near the Galapagos. This is like a couple years ago, and we were out in the middle of nowhere, and all of a sudden, all these boats popped up.
Yeah.
And we were like, this doesn't seem right.
Yeah.
And I think someone on our boat was actually like, we should report them, because I was like a junior deckhand at the time, so I didn't have really any clue what was going on. But I just remember thinking, like, something's wrong.
That sounds so eerie.
It was like looking at stadium lights.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. You think it's a city, but you're not even remotely close to land. So it's a strange thing. And then you go in the middle of it. We were driving around in the middle of it, taking photos and filming them, and it's just hard to explain how weird it is. And you're like, this isn't right. Like, this is not a sustainable. Like, this is wrong. It's not right.
Right. And so when you're in the middle of that, are these other people on the boats, like, are they looking at you? Like, do they know that you guys are there to stop them? And
we're probably like 50 meters away from them. Yeah.
Okay.
We're next.
Yeah, they don't like anyone videoing or.
Well, yeah, I would imagine, but I'm just interested, like, if there's ever any.
I mean, the deckhands are primarily probably from Asia, Indonesians and Filipinos, so they really have no interest in what we're about. It's more the officers and things that are the ones that really care about what we're doing there.
Yeah.
And I mean, as Chris mentioned earlier, drones and things and sneaking up on these vessels. I mean, that was the very case there was being off Mexico, and a vessel had a license for tuna. But when we got close with the drone, we could see they were pulling sharks.
Yeah.
And as soon as they saw the drone, they started cutting the sharks off. They cut the line, took off. And we ended up spending, almost a day pulling in, I don't know how many miles of line, 10 miles of line by hand with no machinery, pulling off, dead sharks and whatnot. So the amount of legal fishing is just, it's insane, and we're just lucky we caught this one boat out of, thousands that are out there doing the same
that
thing.
one we had just stumbled upon. We were way out, and that was actually a random find. We were actually headed somewhere else. I was like, oh, what are they doing? Oh dear. Oh no.
Yeah.
It's heartbreaking to hear like how common and kind of like such a wide scale operation that illegal fishing is.
It's sophisticated. I think a lot of people think it's boats out there just fishing for sharks. It is a very sophisticated, well-oiled machine that is operating with refueling, provisioning, transferring cargo, transferring crew. And no one really knows like how it's actually working. There's no reporting, so no one really knows. There's no numbers. There's nothing.
But I think that actually you're talking about that. But the toughest thing is actually going to a country like Costa Rica where it's legal to fish sharks. And we did this, and we sat in front of a vessel, and that's heartbreaking. I love sharks, and you can't do anything about it. It's legal, and we're watching them pull sharks onto the deck off of long lines and dispatching them, and that's tough to watch, and knowing that's perfectly okay in that country. It's just not right.
Yeah, I mean, I worked in Hawaii for a while, and I remember like they were saying, like a manta ray can get killed and chopped up and sold for bits, and it'll maybe bring in a couple $100. But the revenue in Hawaii for a manta ray is $1 million off of tourism. Like for each manta ray. And it's like, it's education. It's, if you can come see these animals underwater and just photograph them, it brings in a lot more money.
I think that's it. I mean, part of it is poverty as well. I mean, we've been to a lot of places, and poverty breeds desperation as well. So that's a big reason for why a lot of this happens, I think.
Yeah.
You know, so
Yeah.
people need a lot more help to steer them away from these kind of tragic solutions to their lives. You know.
Yeah.
So what do you guys have, like any big upcoming projects that you guys are working on? Obviously right now you're in Mexico, but is there anything really big that you guys have coming up for conservation efforts that you want people to know about?
I don't know. I get called in at the last minute. Like, we need a photographer. Where's that guy? You know, where's he at? So I
Yeah.
They just
pulled in.
need the crazy guy that's going to jump on the ships when they're sinking and
Yeah.
get the evidence.
There's still, there's some things they're working on. We'll be doing a lot of this whale research through the summer. There's another whale that has washed up on the shores of Southern California, dead over the years, maybe half a dozen since the 70s. So they know it exists, but no one's ever seen one alive. So we're going to go look around for that this summer. And then, the Vaquita program, the Operation Milagro, that's still ongoing. And that's getting a lot more traction now. So that they're going to sort of still kind of pursue that and, keep people educated on that. So stay tuned for it.
Yeah, that's
But I mean,
awesome.
Sea Shepherd's huge, and you have different chapters
Right.
around the world,
Yeah.
and not necessarily on boats. I mean, you got Costa Rica for turtles, and Ecuador, places like that. So there's a lot of smaller Sea Shepherd branches that are doing their own campaigns that I only hear about them when you read about it on the Sea Shepherd website. So there's so much going on
Yeah.
everywhere. I mean, I just came back from Brazil. Sea Shepherd Brazil did their first campaign for the pink river dolphins, which are being fished and used as bait to catch a catfish, which is being sold in Colombia. So, they're killing dolphins to catch a catfish, and it's just insane. So there's all these kind of campaigns going on that it's ever expanding.
Well,
it is
I know
inspiring,
I'm trying to join Sea Shepherd on one of their expeditions soon. I just got to find a little 3-month stint I can come jump on a boat.
This one's a short one. You could come on this one. So
This is 11 days.
Oh, really? I should have come on this one. They keep,
Yeah,
every time I
scientists
ask, they're
believe-
like, 3 months. I'm like, I don't know if I can go 3 months, but I'd be down for a short one, for sure.
You know who to contact.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we know you guys are busy and we don't want to keep you away from saving all the species out there. So.
Yeah, but thank you so much. And what you guys are doing is so inspiring. It's really cool that there's all these different branches of Sea Shepherd and people that care about it all over the world. It's pretty amazing. So thank you for sharing your time with us and sharing your stories with us.
Yeah, and we're hoping with, through podcasts like this and through your guys' message, we can help with conservation to save, all of our favorite animals. Sharks, for sure.
For sure, the sharks. Keep diving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So thanks, guys, and safe sailing out there.
Yep. Thank you
Thanks.
so
And you
much.
can always learn more. Go look at seashepherd.org. That's where everything gets sort of published.
Perfect.
Sea Shepherd ORG.
Awesome.
And I'll be out there with you soon, Captain Chris, I promise.
Alrighty.
Cheers, guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
That's so cool. That's so badass.
It is so crazy.
It makes yachting seem like